Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? Sam Bosworth and the beautiful Alana here. We are currently in the queue for download. And if you're watching this after download and you were there, you'll know that it was a very long queue to get in, wasn't it? How long have we been queuing now?
11 hours.
10 and a half, 11 hours in the car. Now I'm disabled. Alana is my PA and girlfriend. Not necessarily in that order. And so obviously I'm in a lot of pain. My back is screaming at me currently. We got to the queue, I guess, if you want to call it, maybe 3 miles back at 2 in the afternoon. It's now 10 past midnight. Our first download. Alana is the metalhead between us, but I do enjoy it as well. Not a great start, really. I'll put up a video now. Here are lots of people having to walk in the road because they didn't want to have to wait in the car with whoever was driving. They wanted to get to the campsite and obviously unpack all their tents. We're going to have to put our tent up probably at 1 a.m. now in the dark as well, because there is no light in the disability camp apparently at all, not even by the toilets, which is bananas. So yeah, I've heard that Download is one of the most accessible festivals in the UK, if not Europe, if not the world. Not a great start. Yeah, so that wasn't great. I mean, we required a little friend, but other than that, that was a bad time. I think we basically covered most stuff in there of how horrible it was for 11-hour journey. But basically after all of that, we got to the entrance of the camp, and then things started to finally get a little bit better, though still with our problems. I will just say, if we didn't say in the last part, I can't remember, I'm Sam.
And I'm Ali.
And that's Alana Banana. In this video, we are going to be covering as much as we can just about accessibility, so you can see what it was like as a disabled person and a carer or PA attending the festival. So we're going to be covering the journey in, which we've just done, really. The campsite and everything within it and all the issues that were there with it. The main arena, like how it was on the platforms, how it was getting from the platforms to each place in all the stages, how the staff were, how the food and drink was, how bad the crowds were, and we will also be covering the village and sort of the doghouse stage where the nightclub kind of part was happening. So we woke up the next day and went to get our wristbands, which thankfully only took about 20 minutes because there wasn't a lot of faff to get them. You just kind of showed them your proof of eligibility and your tickets and stuff, and they just gave you them. And which meant we could go anywhere we want, which was great. So that didn't take long. As far as the campsite's concerned, with toilets and showers, in the central bit of the campsite where we were, which is where the info tent was, there were 2 sort of mobile shower / toilets, wet room things, with ramps into them. Now on the first day, only one of them had a ramp that was completely flush to the ground. Yeah. Which meant that you really, especially if you were pushing yourself, could never have got up to the other one. That got reported, and I think it was fixed on the Friday. Yeah. But obviously that meant there was only one accessible shower for some people to use, which is not ideal. There was also a change in places sort of caravan thing that they fitted with a hoist and everything. I've seen that at a few events now. And that seemed great from the people I spoke to. I don't personally need to use that. And then we had the 2 portable showers on the first day for wheelchair users, and then after a lot of people kicking up a fuss that wasn't enough because the queues were huge, they brought in 2 or 3 more. I can't remember exactly. Two more on the Saturday. On the Saturday. So not ideal, but at least there was a few more and they did listen. And if they were to do a festival with that size again, hopefully they would consider that's how many you need. And then as far as like toilets and stuff for PAs and able-bodied folks, there were about 10 regular toilets in the middle bit, as well as others dotted around the site in clumps. There were 10 wheelchair portaloos, but with my wheelchair being as big as it is, because I'm kind of a big boy, it was kind of a squeeze. I could get in there with my wheelchair and transfer to the toilet, but it really was not easy. Now I'm not paralyzed. I do have the use of my legs. I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user. I can take a couple steps, but it was still very difficult. And you know, I've got all right upper body strength for transfers and stuff, but mostly what I did was get in there and then kind of stand up and get Ellie to pull my wheelchair out and close the door, and then I had the room to actually maneuver. So not ideal. I've had that problem at other events before. When they say they're wheelchair portaloos, it can really be hit and miss. Yeah. So just do bear that in mind. And then regular showers, they had 8 that you could like sit down in. I didn't use one of those obviously, but Ellie did.
Yeah, they were just probably the same size as a portaloo, really. You had a little step to go in, so I would probably say wheelchair users probably wouldn't be able to use them. You had a little seat inside of them, so you can still sit down, and then they had the door you shut the door, and then you had a little pocket inside of the door to put all your dry stuff in, like your towel and your clothes, and then you shut the shower curtain, and then that just kept everything dry.
Yeah, so really handy. The queues for it were huge after the Thursday.
I was really impressed with it. I came back to the tent and
you were quick.
I just felt, I felt so much better.
But after the first 2 days, the queues were horrendous.
Yeah.
Understandably, it was a big campsite, obviously, and it was sold out. So mostly we had these like really big body wipes. I'll put a picture of Ali holding one here. They're like towel-sized body wipes, like baby wipes. I don't know what you call them in America.
Wet wipes.
Wet wipes. And they were great. Like I didn't have a shower while I was there because the queues were too long. But I used these like every day, and I felt really clean, to be honest.
Yeah.
So would recommend them if you just look up towel-sized wet wipes. In the UK, we got ours from Home Bargains. Definitely recommend. Really, really useful.
Pack of 2 for 99p.
We will probably do a separate video with tips for disabled festival goers, but I just wanted to throw that in there because it was really helpful. So yeah, that's the toilet and shower situation. The showers were only in the central part. Toilets were dotted around the entire campsite. So, and really, if you were at the farthest end of the campsite, you might have had a 5-minute wheel or walk to get to the showers. It wasn't too bad, really, so that's not so bad. Next to the central showers, there was also a water point, which was like a big trough sink kind of thing, with about 8 or 10 taps that you pushed a button and it spat the water out. They worked probably 70% of the time, I would say, with good pressure and cold water to fill up your bottles and to, like, if you want to wash your face, brush your teeth. I washed my hair on there one day just because I didn't want to wait for the showers. And, you know, people were doing whole body washes there because you can just splash yourself with water and just have a quick little wash. But yeah, they worked about 80%, 70% of the time. Same with the showers, really. As far as the water goes all over, it would be off quite a bit, or the pressure would not be working for the showers, or the showers would just be cold.
That contributed to the wait times.
Yeah,
as well.
Of course, yeah. So, you know, bear that in mind. When it was reported, it was fixed within an hour or two usually. And then once word got around that it was fixed, the queues shot backed up again because everyone had been waiting. Or people just gave up and, you know, went to the arena for the day. Which, you know, I saw a lot of people, you know, I wasn't too uncomfortable because we had the baby wipes. And I, you know, as far as showers go medically, it's not too important for me, but obviously immunocompromised folks and people with like ports and stuff that need to keep really clean, that was a big deal for them. And I saw them talking about that in the groups, so not great. But we did see a lot of trucks coming around. As far as cleanliness is concerned, I'd say the toilets and were not too bad, like 70-80% of the time they were clean, and there was no queue for the wheelchair portaloo, so you could be a bit picky about which one you used if there was one that was like backed up or anything. And you know, I'm like really terrible for like messy toilets and stuff. Like I throw up too easily, like I hate it. And I managed, you know, it wasn't too bad. So I was really worried about that, but then it turned out to be, at least in the disabled camps and the disabled platforms where there were toilets too, not too bad. So manageable, and that's with it being as sold out as it was too. Most years, again, it will be quiet, probably not as bad. Also, by the info tent was a charging tent, where you could charge your wheelchairs overnight, like your carrier could take it over and leave it charging overnight. It was secure. There was always a staff member on there to keep an eye on everything, so you didn't have to worry about that. And there was security staff to get into our camp anyway. But then there was like an Oxfam staff member by the tent in a little mobile hut thing. So that was always really safe. And then also there was an info tent, which Ree was in. If you're in the group, again, you'll know who Ree is. Very helpful, doing an incredible job for no money, disgracefully. She helped a lot of us out. So from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. she was there with a few other people, helping if you had any questions or complaints about anything.
And just to talk to.
And just to talk to in general as well, because, you know, a lot of people were a bit scared and nervous, and Ree's been there a lot of times. And she was there a day before everybody else, setting things up and getting the lay of the land. So really, really helpful. Another useful thing, but which turned out to be more of an issue than it was maybe worth, is the buggy service they had. They had like these golf cart things that were like double, like sofas. I don't know how to describe it. Like you get 3 people.
It looked like an extended golf cart.
Yeah, you could probably get like, if it was full, you probably get 8 people in it, not in a wheelchair. So they had, there's a butterfly just falling in the house. So yeah, you could probably get 8 people. We saved the butterfly, don't worry. Probably get about 8 people in them comfortably, semi-comfortably, if they were full. And then there was a wheelchair one too. They had 2 regular buggies that wheelchairs wouldn't have been able to get on, and they had 2 buggies with ramps that folded out that you could get a wheelchair on.
Just one.
Just one.
Just one.
One wheelchair. Yeah, 2 buggies.
Sorry, one wheelchair.
Yeah, one wheelchair. Yeah. The big problem was like that's only 4 buggies, right? That was coming to the disabled camp anyway. And they were few and far between. There was no real info about where they stopped unless you stumbled across it. Like there was a little thing up that said buggy pickup point.
The access guide gave you a route of where it was supposed to go, but
Didn't really seem to stick to
I
it.
don't think it got stuck to, and people were just hopping on them and asking to be taken somewhere, and then
more
they
like a taxi.
rather than doing like what would have been a bus route.
Which is very nice, obviously, to get specifically where you want, but I think in the context of the camps and where the village was and everything, it would have been handy for it to be sticking to the route. Another problem was they were old, clearly. They were breaking down, which meant they were out of service for a few hours at a time. And again, the queues were huge for these, understandably, because if you were using a stick or, you know, not a wheelchair, or even if you were using a wheelchair, it was a lot easier to use them than to have to walk in the heat, especially the last 2 days. It was really hot. So yeah, just consider that if you're going thinking that you're going to be able to rely on them and like definitely need to use them. I think even on a less sold out camp, it would still be queues and unreliable perhaps. But again, this was our first year and I haven't spoken to people about what they've been like in the past, but it just seems like they wouldn't be perfect. And it was great that they offered them, but then it could have been a lot better. And then final issue we had with the camp, which everybody pulled up on the first day, was there was just no lights, basically. There was one light powered by a generator in the central toilet bit, which only spanned 10 toilets, and then no lights in the entire rest of the campsite, apart from people's fairy lights and stuff. Bear in mind, we're in a camp where people struggle to walk and have bad balance and may trip over.
And sight difficulties.
Yeah, and sight difficulties as well, visual impairments. And they didn't think to put any lights anywhere. RIP camp had lights, main camps had lights.
Yeah.
Every other camp I saw, personally, even the caravan camp, had like lights strung up to give you just a little bit of light.
You could see the string of lights from general camping from our camp as well.
So, thankfully, Ali is a genius and did a lot of research and brought head torches, and I think we probably sold about 200 head torches while we were there because
they were super handy.
Yeah, so useful. Like every time we went past somebody while we had it on my head, everyone was like, "We should have brought head torches."
They were only bought for the portaloos at night.
Yeah, because there's no lights in the portaloos.
There's no lights in the portaloos. But after that first night, we realised that it would be super handy just keeping it in our bags.
Yeah.
For the trek back from the main stage.
And at the time of making this, ours were 2 for £8. I'll put them in the description below so you can check them out for yourself. But they were very useful not only for lighting the way, but for making sure other people could see you coming, especially in my wheelchair.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I put like LED lights on my wheelchair, as you can see in this picture here, which helped with that as well. But when we'll talk about it later, but when you're getting to and from the arena at night, people will walk into you even with lights on. Yeah. So yeah, bring a head torch. Hello, future editing the video Sam here. Turns out I lost a clip where we talked about people having to camp on gravel and how hard it was to get a pitch. So I'm just quickly going to talk about that here. I know this video is going on for quite a while, but we're trying to be thorough. So basically, on the first day, as we were driving in, people were saying that there was no room left in Camp A. I don't think we mentioned it, but they actually oversold the camping by 88%, we were told by one of the access staff. Which meant while there was usually just a camp for wheelchair users and disabled people, and then a camp for disabled people who have camper vans, there was actually 3 camps for people with wheelchairs this year. And as we were driving in, we heard that they were all full. When we got to Camp A at 1:30 in the morning, on Thursday morning, Wednesday night, we did see that it was really packed. Thankfully, the steward found us a space, as I think we mentioned. But then the next day, when we woke up and it was daytime, we could see there really wasn't much space. 95% of people had to take their gazebos down. And I think, you know, if the tents had been put in a different way and there'd been a bit more forward planning, maybe there would have been room for a few more people, but there still would not have been enough, which meant that wheelchair users ended up in other disabled camps, which weren't as accessible because we had the racetrack in Camp A, and they didn't. So that was obviously a bit of an issue for people and quite stressful, especially for people arriving late at night or early in the morning, you know. So that was a big deal. And then another huge issue we saw is that they actually had people camping on gravel. I'll put up some pictures here. As you can see, there's somebody or a few people, a picture I took of people having to camp on gravel, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, and if they were wheelchair users too, would not have been good. And here's a picture of somebody who had to camp in front of toilets and a little bit on gravel as well. Can you imagine how much of a bad time that must have been? So yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. They also found out later that they weren't actually allowed to have people camping on gravel because it was racetrack gravel, which is made specially for the cars to run off into. It's not just like normal gravel pits like you would expect. So just totally a mess from start to finish. So that was a huge deal, you know, to have oversold by 88%. We were all promised that we'd get our pitch in the camp we were assigned the week before. Even on the way, when people were saying, "Oh, I don't think there's any room left," all the access team were like, "No, there is. You'll definitely get to pitch in your camp." That did not end up happening. So that was a huge problem and really a pain for a lot of people. It meant that sometimes there was no room for wheelchairs to get out of their tents. Like some people got trapped in their tents, or they'd have to be carried to their wheelchair as their wheelchair was kind of left on the track, which is absolutely bananas. I don't know what the solution would have been this year with it being so busy. There's only so much room on the grass. They could have done the tents a bit better, but it still would have been way too busy. So I wanted to mention that because it was hectic for this year, and I think a lot of people have talked about it as well. Hopefully next year that won't be the case because I think they're doing a smaller crowd. But yeah, just wanted to jump in and mention that. I will say as well, this is now going to be the first part of the video, and there will be another part because this video has gone for a long time. The next part will be about the arena and the village, so please do be sure to keep an eye out for that in the next day or two. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to like it down below and subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Follow me on Instagram and all that good stuff. I post about disability all the time, and I will be doing more event reviews of disability access at these events, so please be sure to do that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.